It was a rainy Tuesday morning when the entire office froze. The CEO of a billion-dollar company, dressed in a sharp blue suit, stood by the grand piano in the lobby, staring at the janitor. "If you play Chopin, I'll marry you," she said half-jokingly, her tone confident and teasing. The employees laughed nervously. No one expected what came next. The janitor, a quiet man with worn-out shoes and tired eyes, simply nodded, set down his mop, and walked toward the piano. What happened next silenced the whole building and changed every heart in that room forever. Hey everyone, welcome back to Ripple of Love, where we share true and inspiring stories that remind us how a single act of kindness can change a life. If you believe in compassion, second chances, and the beauty of the human heart, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share your thoughts in the comments below. Your words might be the next ripple that spreads love across the world. And now, let's dive into this powerful story. The janitor's name was Henry Lawson. He was in his early 60s, with silver hair that always seemed to fall over his eyes. Henry had worked as a custodian at Harrington Technologies, a large software company in Chicago, for nearly 20 years. Most people barely noticed him. He came early, left late, and never missed a day of work. He didn't talk much, but he always smiled and greeted everyone, even when they were too busy to respond. The CEO, Rebecca Harrington, had taken over the company after her father's death. She was young, brilliant, and known for being demanding. People respected her, but they also feared her. Rebecca wanted perfection, fast results, long hours, and no excuses. One Friday evening, the company was hosting a charity gala in the main lobby. A beautiful black piano had been placed near the entrance for entertainment. Rebecca, wearing a stunning silver gown, stood near it, chatting with board members and investors. Henry was quietly cleaning in the corner, trying to stay out of sight. He had volunteered to help set up even though his shift was long over. When the pianist the company had hired got stuck in traffic, Rebecca sighed in frustration. "Great," she muttered. "A gala with no music." Henry hesitated for a moment, then softly said, "Ma'am, if you'd like, I can play a little." The room chuckled. A janitor playing piano at a corporate gala? It sounded ridiculous. Rebecca smirked. "Really, Henry? You can play?" He nodded modestly. "A little, yes." She crossed her arms, amused. "All right then. If you can play Chopin, I'll marry you." The crowd laughed. But Henry didn't. He just walked up to the piano, wiped his hands on his uniform, and sat down. For a moment. The room was filled with whispers and giggles, but the second his fingers touched the keys, everything went quiet. Henry began to play Chopin's Nocturne in E-flat major, one of the most beautiful and emotional pieces ever written. His hands moved gracefully, each note flowing like a soft whisper in the rain. The air changed. People stopped talking. Glasses froze midair. Even Rebecca, who'd been smiling moments before, felt her chest tighten. Henry played with a depth that no one expected, a tenderness that told stories of love, loss, and something far beyond words. When the last note faded, you could have heard a pin drop. Then, slowly, the room erupted into applause. Rebecca walked toward him, stunned. "Henry, where did you learn to play like that?" He smiled gently. "When I was young, I studied at the Chicago Conservatory. I wanted to be a concert pianist." The crowd gasped. Rebecca blinked. "Then, what happened?" Henry took a deep breath. "My wife got sick. Cancer. I had to work 3 jobs to pay for her treatment. I sold my piano to cover the bills. After she passed, I never played again. Until now." Rebecca's eyes filled with tears around them. No one said a word. The laughter from earlier felt like shame. The next morning, Rebecca called Henry into her office. He walked in nervously, holding his cap in his hands. "Henry," she began softly, "I owe you an apology. Last night, I made a joke at your expense, and you answered with grace. I'll never forget what you played." Henry smiled. "No harm done, ma'am. Music's meant to be shared, not hidden." Rebecca hesitated. "Would you teach me?" He looked surprised. "Teach you piano?" She nodded, blushing slightly. "My father loved Chopin. He used to play that same piece before he passed. I've tried to learn, but I never stuck with it. Maybe you could help?" And so began an unexpected friendship. Every evening, after work, Henry would sit with Rebecca in the empty lobby. He'd show her how to place her fingers, how to let her heart guide her hands. She was impatient at first, used to success coming quickly. But Henry would smile and say, "Kindness, Rebecca. Even to yourself. That's the first rule of music." Over time, their lessons became more than just about piano. They talked about life, about loss, about how kindness doesn't always come from power, it often comes from humility. Rebecca began to see her company differently. She noticed the janitors, the cafeteria workers, the interns. She started talking to them, asking about their families. For the first time, the office felt human. A year later, Harrington Technologies held another charity gala. This time, the piano wasn't just for decoration. Rebecca sat before it, in a soft blue dress, the same shade as Henry's old uniform. Henry stood beside her, smiling proudly when she began to play Chopin's Nocturne. The audience listened in awe. Her hands trembled at first, but then steadied, each note filled with the warmth of gratitude. As she finished, she looked up to find Henry wiping a tear from his eye. The crowd applauded, but this time, it wasn't for the CEO. It was for the man who had taught her kindness. When the applause faded, Rebecca took the microphone. "I once made a foolish promise," she said with a laugh, "that if someone could play Chopin, I'd marry them. What I didn't realize then was that I wasn't asking for music, I was asking for meaning. For heart." She turned toward Henry. "This man reminded me that every person we meet carries a story. A struggle. A song. And when we listen with kindness, we hear the music in them." Henry smiled shyly as the room filled with emotion. Then Rebecca announced something that stunned everyone. "Starting today, Harrington Technologies will launch the Henry Lawson Scholarship for the Arts, to support janitors, service workers, and their families who dream of studying music or the arts." The crowd erupted in cheers. Henry stood quietly, tears shining in his eyes. He never sought recognition, but kindness has a way of echoing further than we ever expect. After the gala, Rebecca and Henry sat by the piano one last time. "You really changed my life," she said softly. He chuckled. "No, ma'am. You changed your own. You just needed a little music to find the rhythm." Rebecca smiled. "You know, you never did answer that marriage proposal." Henry laughed, shaking his head. "I'm too old for that kind of promise. But if you ever need a duet partner, well, I'm your man." They both laughed, their voices echoing through the quiet lobby, the same place where kindness first found its home, and from that day on, everyone at Harrington Technologies knew a kindness doesn't wear a suit or carry a title. It doesn't shout or demand. Sometimes, it wears a janitor's uniform, sometimes, it plays Chopin, and sometimes, it simply reminds us that every heart, no matter how tired, has a song worth hearing. So, next time you see someone who's overlooked, smile. Listen, you never know, their story might be the one that changes yours. Thank you for watching Ripple of Love. If this story touched your heart, please like, subscribe, and share it with someone who needs a little kindness today. Together, let's keep spreading ripples, one act of love at a time.